at the Mercy Hospital in 1951. Elaine was a floor nurse. She was a registered nurse and just graduated from nursing school. And there was another nurse there, part-time, adult, older, named Ann Bain. And there was me. I was an orderly. That's another name for a male nurse's aide. And I had to take orders from the nurses, even though I was a sophomore medical student at the time. When I'd be away from the desk, emptying a bedpan or making up a bed, Mrs. Bain would lean over to Elaine and say, "Elaine, isn't Eddie a nice boy?" And then when I'd be there and Elaine be passing meds, Mrs. Bain would lean over and say, "Isn't Elaine a nice girl?" So she sure served as our yenta, or our matchmaker, like the fiddler on the roof. Our first date was a trip home. I borrowed my dad's car, and I met Elaine. She was sitting working second shift. And on the way home, I stopped at La Roma Pizzeria on the corner of Woodside Avenue and South Park Avenue. We had pizza. And that was our first date. And I won't tell you that it was love at first sight, because I think that's for the movies. Well, it wasn't very long after the first date or so that I knew that Elaine was the girl I wanted to marry. I was going to marry. Our dates were hampered by, well, before I get to that, and after starting to date Elaine, I didn't date any other girls. I never doubted it, the decision I made, and I never looked back. Our dates were kind of impaired by her working shift work, and summer times I worked at the steel plant. And you had to take 2 buses to get from our house to her house. But we did it, we dated. And I don't know whether it was before we got married or after we got married, but I kind of got Elaine interested in Philharmonic classical music. I used to take her to the Buffalo Philharmonic series. Was that before or after we were married? Or both?
During it.
And we dated, and we both decided that we wanted to get married. But it wasn't official until New Year's Eve of 1953. Elaine and I had gone to midnight mass, and then we stopped for a drink at a restaurant in Depew, New York, and I had a diamond ring in my hand. I put it on Elaine's ring finger, left ring finger, and I said, "Elaine, will you marry me?" And she said yes. And we got married 5 months later. Ma Ferguson picked up the bill. She didn't have any money, but nobody else did either. And we got married in VFW Hall in Depew, New York. The Buffalo Evening newspaper announced our marriage and honeymoon by saying that we toured Pennsylvania. Well, that wasn't quite the truth. We actually stayed at our one-room 20 by 20 or 25 or 24 cabin at Allegheny State Park. This was June the 12th, 1954 we got married. And the beds were all single cots. And we shared a cot because it was so cold down here. And as far as the touring Pennsylvania, we had a Friday night fish fry in Bradford, Pennsylvania. And we went to Mass in Bradford, and that was the extent of our trip to Pennsylvania. I'm going to fast forward now to 2004.
Yay!
Monday, second half of August 2004. The scene was the summer house that we had in near Ellicottville. We called it Howe Hill, or we call it the Adel House. And Elaine and I had just returned from Lewiston,